The most basic concepts of maths, space and quantity, are hardwired into our brains. Even animals have a sense of distance and number, assessing when their pack is outnumbered and whether to fight or fly, calculating whether their prey is within striking distance. Understanding maths is the difference between life and death.
Good evening. Today we're going to learn about how to solve cubic equations. So first, what is a cubic expression? A cubic expression is a polynomial of degree 3, which means the highest exponent in that polynomial is 3. We can write the cubic equation in two different forms. The standard form, x cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d, and the factorized form, which is the same as the factorized form of a quadratic, meaning that here we get the different roots of the cubic equation. On this video, we're going to see how to go from the standard form to the factorized form using the factor theorem. Let's look at the first example. Factorize the polynomial p of x, which is x cubed minus 4x squared plus x plus 6. The first step in factorizing the polynomial is to look at the constant term. We're going to follow the same method as with the quadratic. We're going to look at the factors of the constant term and try to find which one is a factor of the polynomial. So the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6, and we're going to take either the plus or the minus on each of these. According to the factor theorem, if I input minus 1 and I get a result being 0, it means that x minus minus 1 is going to be a factor of p of x. Right? So now we're going to input each of these factors and try to get which one are going to give 0 so that we can find the three factors of the polynomial. Here I found three factors that gives me the polynomial being equal to 0. So if I look at it, these three factors, we're going to have minus 1, 2, and 3. Which means that the factors of the polynomials are going to be, for minus 1 we get x minus minus 1, which is x plus 1. For 2 we get x minus 2, and for 3 we get x minus 3. So the factor of this cubic expression, the factorized form, is x plus 1, x minus 2, x minus 3. So we factorize the equation into x plus 1, x minus 2, and x minus 3. The next step is going to be to graph the equation. So we're going to do a rough sketch of the graph of the cubic. We're not going to be very precise. What we want is simply to put on the roots and the y-intercept. So here we know that we have one root at x equal minus 1. So we're going to put a root at x equal minus 1. One root at x equal 2. So I'll put here at x equal 2, and one root at x equal 3. So here at x equal 3, so we have minus 1, 2, and 3. We know that the y-intercept here is 6, so we're going to put the y-intercept at 6. Now the shape is going to look like this. You don't need to be very precise, just need to put the roots and the y-intercept. Let's look at a second example and a second method. So this method is going to start the same way. We're going to take a look at the constant term and we're going to look at the factors. So here we have plus 2. The factors of plus 2 are going to be plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. So we're going to try all of these numbers. We find that if we input minus 1 in the polynomial, we get 0. That means that x plus 1 is a factor. Now that we identify that x plus 1 is a factor, to get a cubic, we need to multiply this linear factor by a quadratic. So we're going to multiply this by a quadratic. So ax squared plus bx plus c. The goal now is going to be to find a, b, and c. To find a is pretty easy, because if you multiply x by ax squared, you're going to get your only term in x cubed. And we know that we have 2x cubed, so a equal 2. Same thing, if we multiply 1 by c, we're going to get the constant term. We know that the constant term is 2, so 1 times c is 2, so c equal 2. It's going to be a bit more difficult to find b. So to find b, what we're going to do is we use identification. It works also if you have trouble finding a and c. So here, when I want to identify, I'm going to focus on either the x squares or the x. So let's say we focus on the x squares. To find my x squares, I'm going to multiply 1 by ax squared and x by bx. So I will get minus 3x squared, coming from this equation, is the same as ax squared plus bx squared. So in the end, I get minus 3 is the same as a plus b. Knowing that a equal 2, I get that b is minus 5. The last step of this method is going to simply factorize the quadratic. So the factor x plus 1 stays, and we're going to factorize 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. So we're going to have 2x. Here we're going to have minus 1, and here minus 2. Now we find the free factor of our cubic equation. The next step is to graph this cubic. Same as before, I'm going to look at the roots. So here I have the roots 1 over 2. So that's going to be about here. Here I have the root minus 1, we're going to put it here, and then I have the root equal at 2, so that's going to be here. Okay, so minus 0.5, plus 0.5, 2, and minus 1. We also need to place the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is going to be at 2. Once we've done that, we simply graph the cubic. Once again, you don't need to be very precise. Your graph should just go through all your points.